Welcome to Retrotopia. My name is Brian, and even though it felt like forever, trust me, we got here just in time because you are joining me for the special 50th episode of this podcast. And with me for this intro, which is something we've stopped doing, is the three of us together. So please say hello to Sam and Alan. Fellas, how you doing?
Well,
good. Hey, everybody.
Hey, welcome to the 50th. Thanks for saying hello to us.
I'm going to let you get a word in here before I just fanboy all over this game.
Yeah.
Because we're talking Chrono Trigger, by the way.
Yes.
I don't think I actually mentioned that, which makes my little pun at the beginning kind of obscure until you know what I'm talking about.
I thought it was good.
Brian is just fully erect for the whole episode.
Oh my god.
His chrono is triggered.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I've been super excited about this one, especially considering how our schedule has been like not linking up in the last couple of weeks here. You know, Alan, you went away on vacation. I do night school now, apparently, even though I'm on a full-time course.
Yep.
Sam, you have all the free time in the world, but somehow you squander it on BioShock.
and contracting COVID.
Yeah, that little disease that nobody knows about.
You know, you should probably try to not catch COVID.
No, yeah, that's where I went wrong. For sure.
Yeah, that is my trick. I actually try to stay away from people. Mind you, I take the bus a lot, and I've learned one thing is about 10% of this city actually showers, and the 90% that don't take the bus.
Yeah.
It is, god damn, the smells I have smelled in the last like couple of months, I can't even describe. It's just like BO layered on top of curry layered on top of more BO. It's
and then like with a side of unwashed ass.
Oh, big old white guy there, the walker there. You can smell his diaper. He needs a changing.
I feel personally attacked right now.
What, diaper or the old white guy?
Just the whole thing. Just literally the whole thing you just said. I mean, that's kind of my style.
You don't wash?
What?
Hey? Oh.
Well, you know, once a year. And I went in a swimming pool, so that's
how's
like
how's your London transit? Like, do you get all the smells of Great Britain on one train car? Or?
Oh God, on the train. Listen, on the underground, that's something else. Let me tell you. Like,
no ventilation. It simmers there. You can taste it.
It's just, I mean, if you can call it ventilation, it's just a hot blast of arse like running through the train. It's just, and if you're at the back, you're catching a lot of it. It's grim.
Nice.
Oh God. Anyways, that's enough about our hot sweaty
sometimes I fart in my car.
I can see you driving down the road, rolling the window down, like flipping off the person beside you. Like, what? They're like, "What are you talking about?" And he'd roll down the window. He's like, "You farted in my car, asshole!" And then you drive away.
Would you like any Grey Poupon?
All right, so let's get back on the topic of the day. That is, of course, Chrono Trigger we were talking about. And around our parts, some of our friends, which use that term loosely, have changed the name of it to Time Toggle because apparently I'm not allowed to talk about what I like, but we can't shut up about Star Wars. So,
wow.
So,
shots fired.
So today is my day. It's all about Chrono Trigger. This one, it goes out to my best friend, Unbuckled, from the Unbuckled Comics, because he was the one who brings most of my Chrono Trigger hate towards me. He knows he does it. I know he does it with love, but I just want to let you guys know that check out the Unbuckled Cape Comics. Zero Chrono Trigger if you don't like it. Guaranteed. So how are you guys feeling about this one?
Oh, my God. Like, what game are we doing again?
Time Toggle.
Time Toggle. Never heard of it. Is it good? No. Honestly, I am super... because I don't get to talk about this game with anyone.
No, like, nobody knows about this game, even though it's still available today.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's very readily available.
A version of myself played this, but went back in time to get the version of myself that hadn't played it and brought me forward to now. So I have not played it. I'm from the past.
Okay, I get you. I think I'm going to need to drink more.
Yeah, my head just exploded trying to figure that one out.
It's time travel, guys.
It's time travel. It is.
Yeah, and there's different types of time travel, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do, let's talk about our social medias. Alan, you got our Instagram account. I have started our Twitter account, and recently I started a new account on something called Blue Sky, which is supposed to be the Twitter replacement. So it's like Twitter, only less people.
Oh.
But where can we find our socials, Alan?
We can find our socials at linktree/Retrotopia. That's linktr.ee/Retrotopia. Brian, over to you.
Oh my God, damn, I love your voice. But with that, you can find the Instagram where Alan takes care of all the advertising and discussion. I handle the Twitter, Sam handles the Facebook, and the three of us together, we jump on Discord where you can talk and find us in our community. And it's a growing community, and it's a really good community. A lot of video game fans there, a lot of, like I said, Star Wars fans, and just great conversations all around.
Yeah, and not a one of us knows what we're doing. So
nope,
join
absolutely
Discord.
not. Yeah, join the Discord if you want to talk to us, or if you just want to yell at us, join the Discord, then leave the next day.
I know there's more of you out there.
Yeah,
we just love to hear from you.
Get involved.
Well, all right, but we also have a Patreon. We started a Patreon there, not to make a whole shit ton of money, but just kind of organizes things a little bit better for us and allows us to give some stuff locked behind some paywalls, but it is free to join. If you head over to patreon.com/Retrotopia, join for free. With that, you will get to put comments on shows, write in for 8-Bit Banter Box, take part in polls, give game suggestions for polls, and get our other shows, Quick Play and Retro Bites. Retro Bites is 15 days early right now, but eventually we're going to lock it behind. And we do have a paid tier called The Hero, and that allows you to pick a game for one of us to play for a quick play episode, and you get a shout out when you join. We don't pressure people to jump into the Hero tier, but those that have, we really appreciate it. It's helped us kind of mitigate some costs of the podcast as we moved over to Podbean, and that like most things in life, costs a little bit of money. So thanks everybody for your support.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to get into our letters section, and it is called 8-Bit Banter Box, and it's culturally elegant. All right, so our first...
it's culturally elegant and relevant.
There you go. Our first writer in is David Henley, and he says, aside from Chrono Trigger, what would each of your favorite RPGs be of all times? And also, congrats on 50 episodes. First off, thank you, David. I'm going to take that first because screw you guys. But Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo, as it was called here back when I was young. That is 1A, 1B with Chrono Trigger for me. You guys?
That's a very good question. And first of all, David, again, thanks for the congratulations. And also thank you for kicking things off with an absolutely fucking difficult question. I don't know. I mean, favourite RPGs of all time. Like, I'm half tempted to say Mass Effect, if that counts as an RPG.
It does.
I think it does. But like,
it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is an RPG. I mean, if you were looking for like a JRPG though, do you know what I keep coming up with? Like, and it's gonna be divisive, but I'm gonna give Final Fantasy VIII some love. Now,
that's it for the podcast, folks, and we're done. Bye.
I'm not saying it's the
fire. Hold on.
I'm not saying it's the best one in the series, but it's literally the one that I started on, so it's got that huge nostalgic bump. And
that's fair.
Whenever I sort of think about Final Fantasy, I just think of that opening cutscene for Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, that is like one of the best cutscenes, wasted on like the worst Final Fantasy. Not the worst, one of the worst.
I will cut you, Brian.
With a gun blade.
Best weapon ever.
Oh, God.
So silly.
It's a blade, and it's a gun. I could stab him and shoot him at the same time.
Exactly.
What do you know about that? Sam, what's your, favorite RPG of all time?
I'm going to go with...
Aside from Chrono Trigger.
Aside from Chrono Trigger. I'm going to go with Pokemon Fire Red.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good one.
And, and or Leaf Green. That third generation What?
Not just red, but fire red. That's
The Fire Red. Yeah,
that's a fucking cool.
the GBA remake of the original that kind of like coincided with Gen 3. That's peak. That is like perfect graphics, perfect just quality of life improvements. I could play that game forever. That's a good one.
That's a good answer. I didn't actually think about I never think about the Pokemon games actually being RPGs, but they are quintessentially RPGs.
I mean, I did think about the first gen of Pokemon, but you just took it to the next level because you're right. It's arguably one of the greatest Pokemon games, but improved exponentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a good one.
Sam, do you want to take the next question?
Oh gosh, you gotta make me read the. I've got the black lung, and you're making me read this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. This comes from Wildcard, who says, "Congrats on hitting 50 episodes, boys. Way to celebrate by upgrading from 8-bit to 9-bit banter box. You guys are doing great work, and looking forward to episode 100. Now for a nonsensical question, and I'd love an answer from each of you. You have gotten yourself in a fist fight, and surprisingly, it looks like you might come out on top and win this thing. Then suddenly, the other guy stops, backs away, and clasps his hands together. He starts saying, Kamehame. Okay, so do you stay and fight, or run away concerned that you found the guy who can actually do a Kamehameha wave?
Okay.
It's a fucking good question. What if he can?
Well, here's what I would look for. Is if the like if you're in the streets or whatever, and like the little like street rubbish or petals or what, or, like pebbles on the ground start like rising. You know how like whenever they start powering up and stuff starts like blowing around or levitating. Like if that's not happening, I'm just gonna go kick that guy in the nuts.
Fuck, you took my answer.
Yeah, just kick him in the nuts before he can finish saying it.
like all I can think of is one of those anime kids there that like they take anime too seriously. Like you remember the Area 51 Naruto runner?
Naruto run?
That'd be like the guy who would do this. The guy who'd be in the middle of a fight and try to throw a Kamehameha at you, and you're just like, dude, no. And then I'd probably walk away out of embarrassment for him, just to let him like have one victory in his life. And I say him because it's going to be a guy, because no girl would debase themselves to that level.
That's fair. I wonder what Naruto guy's doing now. I hope he's okay.
He's still running.
Yeah, I hope he's still running.
Still running. Hopefully he's improved his running form.
Absolutely.
Because that does not make you go faster.
Of course it does. It's in the anime.
I think, I remember reading somewhere that it was done that way in the anime because it was easier than making arms swinged, or it just didn't look as awkward if, their arms are behind them rather than swinging the whole time.
Makes sense. Probably easier to animate as well.
Yeah.
I am going to go in a completely different direction. If he's standing there charging up a Kamehameha wave, I am going to start shouting Final Flash and see which one of us blinks first.
Except for your hands aren't above your head, they're at your pants zipper. Final Flash! Zip!
One of us is getting arrested, mate. But that's what I would do. Play chicken.
Chicken with your dick. Oh, God. So, yeah, that is a fun question. But, yeah, all I can think of is just the guy who takes anime too seriously. Alan, do you want to carry us forward and get us away from Wildcard as far as you can?
I'll do my best, but he just keeps turning up. Next up, we've got Sharkbite, who says, you woke up to find you've won the Powerball / lottery. What game are you buying? What game are you financing to get made? Oh, Jesus. I think I've got a couple of big games on my wish list. I mean, I would probably, and it sounds really fucking stupid, but one of my biggest white whales is to get hold of a little known 32X game by the name of Knuckles Chaotix. Simply because it is a Sonic game. It's one that I've wanted to play since I saw it in my Sonic the Comic UK magazines back in the day, and that would require me not only to buy a game which is about 500 odd pounds, but also about £200 to £300 worth of 32X and the extensive electric bill that would come with it, because every single fucking Mega Drive add-on had its own power supply. So I think
I did not know that. I thought they all hooked up to one common power source.
Well, I know the Mega CD had its own power supply. I'm sure the 32X did as well, but I could be wrong.
Well, when you're done slapping them together like a friggin' Power Rangers Megazord, I mean, at least you get some good games out of them.
Well, do you? I mean, I don't know if it's a good game, but I guess I'll find out when I win the lottery. And about a game that I want financed. What am I financing to get made?
If only you knew somebody in the game development course.
I'm going to go with Retrotopia Bonk Fighter 3000.
Bonk Fighter.
Where basically we're just bonking Sam. Just
I'm the final boss.
You are the final boss. Yeah. Bonks of rage.
Just in an 8-bit voice. I'm horny. That's all he says over and over again. And he's like, you gotta bonk him to get the horniness down. Man, where was this on the last Retro Bites? We were coming up with a game.
Well, I didn't have that much whiskey this time, so.
No, fair enough. Might be a new rules to get you nice and hot toddied up.
Yeah, it's doing my cold wonders.
Excellent. Sam, what would you finance and what would you buy with Powerball money, considering the Powerball goes over $1 billion?
Jesus Christ, over $1 billion. I'd buy every single game if I had Powerball money, like, let's be honest. But I think I would probably round out my 3DS Pokemon collection, or just like there's lots of, this is probably a bad answer because it's not one big game, but like lots of what would be little ones if I had that kind of money. Like the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Emerald, all those like hard to find Pokemon games. I'd get real nice copies.
It's just Powerball money. Like, we're not talking like Microsoft money here. Like, be realistic.
So those probably. But then there's some Dragon Quest games on the 3DS that look pretty sick too, but they're also quite pricey if you want to buy one. So I think that would be my answer. What am I financing? Here's one. I'm going to finance a Final Fantasy Tactics remake or remaster.
Now, would you remake the original Final Fantasy Tactics or Final Fantasy Tactics Advance?
Original.
Why not all of it?
I mean, or put it in a collection. Like put it in a collection.
Remasters.
Here, let me win the lottery and do what you should have already done, you fucks.
God damn, those games are good.
And if I woke up and I won that lottery, or we can actually win the Powerball in Canada here. So we can go to the States, buy the ticket, and if we win, we can go to the States to claim the ticket. It's doable somehow, because every time it hits $1 billion, it makes our news. That's how
people go.
That's how I know how much it is quite often. But for me, if I was buying a game, my white whale is an in-box sealed copy of Chrono Trigger and a Japanese PlayStation copy of Chrono. Basically, one copy of every type of Chrono Trigger, and those are the only two I'm missing. It's the Japanese PlayStation and the Super Nintendo. Which is odd.
No idea this thing came out on PlayStation.
Oh yeah, we'll get into everything it came out on and everything it's still out on.
I had it on PlayStation. I know that the PlayStation port is not great to play. Yeah, I actually traded it for some other stuff because I had it as part of like the.
It's not a bad move. It's a good move.
Final Fantasy Chronicles or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. It had games on it that I could play other ways, so I traded it.
So as for financing a game, like I said, I'm in a game development course, so I just take that money and make my own game. Make Brian the game. Maybe it'll happen someday. Alan will be voicing the characters. Sam will be there as the final boss, or you have to bonk him.
I could voice me. I could do that pretty well.
Hey, Alan's impression of Alan.
Yeah.
You have to do all of us, though.
I'll do all
yeah.
of you, mate.
Oh.
Here we go again. This is why we don't do the intro together. It turns into an OnlyFans advertisement.
Well,
now with more Alan. All right, next question comes from Sir Bustalots. It says, if each one of you fine gents can eliminate a genre off the gaming world, which would it be? He goes on to say, please be advised, deleting a genre roasts all past, present, and future games of that genre. Side effects may include, but are not limited to, vomiting, explosive diarrhea, and in rare cases, death. Please talk to your doctor before erasing a genre. Oh, and he says reading the quick 90s medication infomercial voice, but I kind of defaulted to that.
you did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you fell into it. Good job.
So, all right, if I could delete a genre, this is a no-brainer for me, fighting. Fuck it. Don't like it. I mean, Street Fighter was great when I was a kid, but I'm an adult now, and I don't like fighting games.
I don't know. Like, I'm not the biggest fighting game fan, but then you'd get rid of things like Smash, you'd get rid of... Sam, you'd get rid of Dissidia. Like...
Oh, no.
I don't know. So you're going with fighting?
Yeah, fighting, just absolutely gone. Bye-bye.
Do you know what?
And Smash Bros. Falls under the genre of... No, it does fall under the genre of fighting. I thought there was a genre called Brawlers.
I mean, that by which we call fighter by any other name. I think I'm going to get rid of racing games. Because
That one hurts a little.
I don't play racing games at all. I find them very stressful. And even in games with like a racing element to it, they are my least favourite part of the games. Because I'm not very good at them. Yeah.
And just silence fills the room. We are both shocked. All right.
So this is my last episode of Retrotopia, guys. It's been fun.
No,
I
it
like
has.
a good racing game. I'll say I like a good kart racing game. I don't really get in too much to the Forza or F1 or
I
See,
play a
that's
lot
where
of
I'm thinking.
Gran Turismo.
yeah. But you saw Sir Bustalot says all past, present, future of that genre. I mean, kart racing is still racing, so Mario Kart would be gone.
We've still got all
That's
the
tough.
other Mario games, so...
See, the conundrum, you have to pick something that you aren't interested in, but you also have to ruin it for everyone else, hence fighting games.
Yeah,
That's
I'm okay
true.
with that. And
Or
I'll take,
racing games.
I'll take the explosive diarrhea as well.
What's Sam going to erase?
We each have to pick one extra shitty side effect too.
Oh, then I'll take the vomiting. I would be so thin after.
Oh god, vomiting is the worst.
Oh,
It
fuck
leaves,
you guys. I have to die? That's the only one that's left.
But you haven't erased anything yet, so you're good.
I'm gonna erase sports games.
God, like, why do you guys hate me?
I don't play very many of them. I used to more often, and now they're just too fucking complicated. So I can't be fucked. So
Yeah, thank God you just bought NHL 94.
I did. I enjoy it. I really do.
It's gone now. That was the hill you quite literally died on.
I killed it. But no, I really enjoyed playing them back in the Sega and like N64 era, and as time goes on, they just get way more complicated and less fun. So there it is.
Yeah, just play NHL 94. That's literally the greatest sports game ever made.
Yep. And I've got it.
Yep.
Yeah. It was like $5.
Good.
All right, so I'm going to wrap this up just because this was our first comment. It was from Blaine the Hoagie Man, and he noticed my one mistake that's already been mentioned, my one mistake in life. He says, congratulations on 50 episodes, but what's a 9-bit banter box? Is it somehow more special than an 8-bit one? To answer that question before I finish off his comment, when I put this on Patreon, I accidentally wrote 9-bit banter box, and of course somebody instantaneously caught it, right? So, yeah, whoops is all I have to say. Actually, that's what I responded to him on Patreon, was whoops, I changed it. But I did promise I would answer that question in full. So yes, a 9-bit banter box is better than an 8-bit one. Fun story about 9-bit things. When I was a kid, somebody tried to convince everybody in our class that the original Game Boy was a 9-bit console. because it was more powerful than the NES. Yeah.
Because their uncle worked for Nintendo.
No,
I
it's
mean-
because we were dumb kids.
Was it not then?
You can't have 9 bits.
It's just
All
like
right.
it's like 8 bits, except it's just one better.
Yeah, this one
I
goes
guess
to
so.
9.
Exactly, you knew it. You got
That
it.
extra bit does nothing. All right, so he finishes off his comment. That is Blaine the Hoagie Man. He says, anyways, for now, the real question. Brian, would you ever stream the Final Fantasy VII D-Make since it is a fan-made NES version of Final Fantasy VII? It is directed at me, and the reason is because I do actually have the Final Fantasy VII D-Make ROM on my computer. I went and hunted it down. I did start playing it. I actually am considering opening up my streaming channel again to play it on the stream. So, watch out for that one. When I have a little bit of extra time on my hands, maybe I'll play Final Fantasy VII for the NES.
You heard it here first.
I'd love to play that. That looks cool.
I haven't seen it.
Well, just think Final Fantasy VII with NES graphics.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
All right, that's all their questions. Thanks for everybody who wrote in. And, man, this is going to be a long intro. We're already 36 minutes into it. Nope, 26 minutes into it. And, you know what? This is normally where we would talk about our lives. We kind of did already. And then we'd slide right into a beautiful Alan Gentleman's interlude. But we decided to do something a little bit differently and kind of reminisce on the podcast itself. And if you hear a honking noise in the background, it's because some jackass is outside my house honking his fucking horn. Just to let you
He's
know.
congratulating us on 50 episodes.
Yeah, possibly. No, it's a bus has stopped and they're letting kids off, and somebody's trying to get his kids' attention instead of being adult and going over to pick them up. Like, you cross the road, you dumb shit.
I thought somebody was
No, you
just
just
like after your
look at 'em.
services.
Shh. Trying to make up a story here.
The special,
All right, so
special service.
50 episodes. Let's kind of go over this. Sam, how did we get started? Like, you were the one who actually came up with let's do a podcast.
Yeah, because you had opened that. You opened your old Discord server and invited us. I was like, oh, dude, you're starting a podcast. I sent you a DM. It's just support, and
Yeah.
then we got to chatting about it because you said, well, I would do it, but and I said, well, let's do it, right?
Yeah,
That's
pretty
pretty
much
much the
how it
long and
went.
short of it.
we spent like the month of October a year ago now.
Yeah.
Hemming and hawing over names, themes, what we would do, how we would do it, making a list of games to start out with. And then we decided to do episode 0, Super Mario Brothers 2, as just like a trial. And by the time we finished it and produced it, which was supposed to be like months ahead of our actual launch date, which was supposed to be at the beginning of January, we just kind of fell in love with it. And then the week after that, we just started pumping out episodes, and we've evolved from there.
Yep.
Alan, don't answer this question, but Sam, do you remember Alan's first appearance on the show?
Oh man, we asked him to do an intro, right? It was just that's what developed into the gentleman's intro. It's kind of crazy how it's like we've only done 50 episodes, which is both a lot and not a lot at the same time, but it's like the time just all kind of flows together, and I kind of forget how like things happened, right?
Yeah.
It was an introduction for fuck, I can't remember which game.
I hope you know
Alan?
the answer to this because I'm fuck. Was it South Park?
The Stick of Truth.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
I remember that one. That's an early episode. It's like episode 2 or 3. And
right,
I just remember we used to do this intro at the beginning of the show that we kind of cut out because it was just becoming too much. And it built this intro, and yeah, it evolved into the gentleman's interlude. It was the same idea. But asking you to do that is actually how we kind of first started talking on a regular basis. And then not long after that, we invited you on for a Sonic episode. And then it was just like, why not just have him here as much as we possibly can?
Aww.
Was it Sonic or GoldenEye?
GoldenEye came
Sonic,
later.
Yeah, Sonic was Sonic I remember distinctly because I was so worried about all of my equipment working, which
that's right.
as of fucking recently it hasn't. That I set up literally everything downstairs in my living room and crushed a few cans of beer just because of the nerves, and then we just got into it, and it's fuck, I remember that. That was a good time, and the interludes as well. I mean, that was.
Well, we went from the interludes to we rotate the intro now to the three of us, and then sometimes you and Sam will do an episode, and I won't be there, and then eventually me and you will do an episode without Wildcard. But it's kind of nice having a team when one person needs to step away for a minute. We can at least accommodate, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
teamwork.
So that's basically how that came about. But I've loaded up some sound clips of some of the earlier episodes and some of the stuff that happens before, during, or after our recording sessions. So one of the first ones, early on, me and Sam were just having a back and forth before we started recording, and I'm like the anxiety person when we start. I'm always checking everything, and anyways, I figured out the cost of podcasting. You know how many dicks I suck to keep this podcast going? 2. It's not a lot, but it's strange that I had to suck 2.
2.
And I'll always be grateful to you.
The amazing part is you have 2 dicks.
One for showing, one for growing.
Oh, God. All right. Not long after that, one of my favorite intros to the show was Sam, and this was a game you adamantly wanted me to play that I ended up really hating. And it was Ren and Stimpy, but we did the intros, and you wanted to do the intro because you had the great idea, and I thought it turned out just absolutely beautiful. So here is Sam on episode 5 intro, Ren and Stimpy.
Hey kids, this episode of Retrotopia is brought to you by Log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. Roll it down the stairs, have it as a snack. It even fits on your back. And introducing Log for Girls. Give your log a makeover just in time for tea. Why? It's even more fun than a boring old doll. Log from Blammo.
That is so fucking good.
Even includes that old song we used to use.
That game sucks.
I
love it, but it sucks.
You gave it your all in that.
That was so great. You were so passionate about it. Oh man, no, that is literally my favorite intro. I have that clip just because I listen to it every so often when I'm in a bad mood.
Do you really? Just before you go to bed at night?
Yeah, it's bad. Wink.
Sam's log.
The next one was next clip is actually from episode 19, and Sam went away on a business trip, so we pulled an episode out of the backlog, and I did the intro myself, and I decided to have some fun with the editing. Welcome to episode 19 of Retrotopia, and this week we have a special episode because Sam won't be here in the intro, which means
I can do as I please and take over the whole podcast, turning it into pure evil.
And today we are going to pull a chat from the backlog. Yeah, that actually led into the what's it called? The 5x5 voice, like some of the 5x5 voices and things like that. Oh, sorry, not 5x5. The quick play at the beginning when it says quick play and then the coin drops. That's actually me.
No way.
It is. So I played around with the editing, the pitch, the tone, the bass, all that kind of crap. I don't know if you guys can hear my voice. I can't hear it.
So, no, I had no idea that was you.
Like, I wasn't sure if you're just like being sarcastic.
No,
yeah, it makes sense that it is, but it doesn't necessarily sound like you.
Okay, because I've done it a few times to just kind of mess with the pitch of my voice just to make it deeper, so the ladies will like me.
Well, I'll be damned.
Oh man. Next one is called GI Intro, so it's going to be Alan based. So enjoy this one.
Guys, I just want to let you know that it is hot as balls in this room right now, so gonna have to do this naked.
True fact. And
I think I left that actually in the episode.
Quite possibly.
And he hasn't put on clothes since.
No, he hasn't.
I mean, I just got used to it. I like the freedom.
And
No, to
I'm
be fair,
free balling.
that was like the height of whatever we call a summer over here, and fuck, it really was hot in here.
It was a hot summer.
27 degrees Celsius.
Like, is that what it was, or?
I have no idea. I just remember you like one day I was talking to you, and you're like, it's so hot over here. And it's like, oh, how hot is it? And you're like, it's 27 degrees. And I looked at the thermometer. It was 34 here. Oh, no. Then
but
you don't have air conditioning. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
yeah, no, we don't do air conditioning.
We just get Prince Charles to blow hot air over the Atlantic to counteract the hot air. I went Australian again.
You did, but I appreciate it.
Every time I try to do a British accent, I all of a sudden go crocodile hunter.
That's all right. I don't even dare try a Canadian accent.
You don't try a Canadian accent. You enjoy a Canadian accent.
Just savor it.
All right. 3 more clips before we get this over with and we start talking about Chrono Trigger. So next one's called Sam Out of Context. And this is just, I can't remember what episode it is. It's going to be in the clip. Sam started talking and I started laughing because the way he talked, if you weren't really kind of in on what he was talking about, it just sounded like this.
And you have to hit the head 3 times before it retracts back, which can be kind of difficult. You have to position yourself just right. And then once the head explodes, like the body chases you.
Oh, God. Out of context, that does not sound right.
I think that was... what Zelda game did we play?
Oh, Minish Cap.
Yeah, I think it was one of the bosses from Minish Cap.
Sure it was, Sam. Sure it was.
Hit the head
just
to get it to retract.
I was just so I was sitting there listening to you and you're so into it too. Like you didn't even notice you were talking like that. And just the whole time, just like, oh my God, this is another penis reference and we can't get away from him.
No, you cannot.
Yeah. All right. The next one is the first episode we recorded with Alan. He gave us this gem. Now's not the time to wonder, Sam. Oh my God, you're making me nervous.
Oh,
I'm
he's
thinking
curious.
about moving some things on my desk. I have a bunch of micro machines on my desk. If I move those,
Just sweep the whole desk off and I'll be there in 5.
Became one of the best lines in our pre-stream recordings.
That was literally like that wasn't even the first episode I was on. That was before the first episode I was on. I was coming in hot.
Oh,
That
yeah. You just literally lit the place up, as you like to say, what I did to Wildcard the other day. But just a quick one to end it all off.
Seriously.
So that is kind of the history of Retrotopia, just in place of the gentleman's interlude. Before we get into the game, though, we do have a couple of comments about the game. There's 3 comments in total, so we'll all take one. I think I'm going to pick the order going Sam, me, then Alan to finish it off. So, Sam, do you want to start the first one?
Yeah. All right. This first one comes from Sharkbite, who says, time toggle. What an amazing game. One of the best stories, music, characters, and overall content I have witnessed in a video game. There is a reason this game gets highly rated. I don't think people should charge astronomical prices for it, though. I have it on my phone, not emulated, and I've finished it, but I haven't deleted it in case I go back to it again. Good idea, because you probably will go back to it again because you can play it over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And you
well
should.
said.
Yeah.
Next comment comes from our good friend Unbuckled Kate from the Unbuckled Comics, and like I said, he is my naysayer. He says, never heard of it. My guess is Chrono is short for chronic, and Trigger is that bouncy tiger on Winnie the Pooh. You're thinking Tigger. When you guys cover licensed games, they have been hit or miss. My guess is a game about a tiger that chronically bounces is fun at first, but gets old after a while. Especially if it's talked about all the time like it's the greatest game ever. You wait. I'm going to tiger you up, buddy.
That's not what Chronic Tigger is about. Chronic Tigger is about Tigger smoking some weed.
Yeah, and he's not bouncing. He's mellow.
I think I just found
Alan.
the game I want to finance.
I know, yeah.
Buddy.
So to bring us home, we've got Blaine the Hoagie Man, who says, I just finished this game for the first time recently and I enjoyed it. The music was wonderful, the time travel mechanics were implemented pretty well, and the characters were well enjoyable for the most part. Oh, I couldn't agree more, and that's where the comment ends for some reason, Brian.
That is actually based off of how I comment on the Retro Wars podcast every week for his 100 and some episodes.
Oh, okay, in which case I can fill in the rest. And I couldn't agree more. Sam, Brian, and Alan, you are the sexiest podcasters to ever get into the game.
Hoagie
sounds
Man's
accurate
words,
to me.
not mine.
Yeah, he said it. He said it, not me.
Well, it's like the singing of the angels themselves. All right, so we're going to queue up a little bit of music here, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about Chrono Trigger, which was originally released for the Super Nintendo on the 11th of March, 1995. Currently, you can play it on the SNES, PlayStation, Nintendo DS, iOS or Android, Windows, and Apple TV. Thank you for listening, and thank you for 50 episodes. All right, so we're back, and we are now going to be talking about Chrono Trigger.
Finally.
Oh,
Finally.
I know, right?
oh,
The intros are so much easier when we can just do them on our own at our own pace.
Oh no, that was loads of fun. It's just, God, I'm excited to talk about this game.
Oh, yeah. And before we get into the game itself, I'm going to get into some of the people who developed the game. And I have a
let's hear it.
big list here. And the reason I'm doing this is because this game was developed by a group called the Dream Team, which is basically some of the best RPG makers. And you'll hear about why in a few seconds here. They got together and they built arguably the best RPG ever. And for a reason, because these are the juggernauts of the Japanese RPG world of the mid-90s. The first one is a writer named Yuji Horii, and he is known as the creator of the Dragon Quest series. So he supervised and wrote the scenarios for Chrono Trigger, and he is now the CEO of his own company called Armor Project, and it has an exclusive production contract with Enix, which is now Square Enix. His first game was Love Match Tennis in 1983, and from 1986 to the current, he has been a part of the Dragon Quest series. So that's where the writing comes from. The next one is a guy we should all praise and love. He is Kazuhiko Torishima. He is a Shonen Jump editor. He was Akira Toriyama's editor for Dr. Slump and half of Dragon Ball. Wow. He is the man who put these mangas out there and edited them. He was put in charge of video game section of the Shonen Jump. He brought in Yuki Horii to help, which is the guy I just talked about. Koro Comic was doing well because of the pages you had to cut to get cheats and game tips, which I found kind of neat. Also ruins the value of those for people who want to buy them in the late 2000s. He started rating video games, which was a first at the time. So basically that's where rating video games came from, was this guy. So from the Wikipedia, I have, after finding success with video game articles and wanting to show readers of Jump how one is developed, the magazine decided to develop their own role-playing game like Ultima so that they would have exclusive coverage of it. He decided to have Horii, who began working at Enix, write a scenario, and Toriyama design the characters. Torishima claimed that he purposefully had Enix fully fund the game, intentionally keeping Shueisha out of the decision-making process, who was the owner of Shonen Jump, out of the decision-making process for the good of the product, while still reserving the option to create a manga series based on it and not pay royalties. That video game turned out to be Dragon Quest. Nice. So that's why he is on this list of the Dream Team. Although the Dream Team is normally called only 4 of the people on this list, I kind of picked the people who are very significant. Next, we have a designer named Hironobu Sakaguchi. He worked from Square from 1983 to 2003. He is known as the creator of the Final Fantasy series. So now you have the two biggest RPG series arguably in the planet, creators working together. So he directed the Final Fantasy Spirits Within, so he does have some black marks on his record. It was a flop of a film, causing him to withdraw from the management, and he eventually left Square because of it. In 2004, he set off to form Mistwalker, which made Blue Dragon and Terra Battle. He spearheaded the creation of Chrono Trigger. His first game was Death Trap in 1984. 1987, he did the 3D battles of World Runner. There's a quick play episode on that. 87 through 2003 was the Final Fantasy series. He also had his hands in Parasite Eve, Brave Fencer Musashi, Tobal No. 1, Xenogears, Kingdom Hearts, and Lost Odyssey.
God damn.
Yeah. I'm
quite a
telling you,
team.
like, this is quite a team, because the next guy, you know him, he recently passed away on the 1st of March 2024. He is the creator of Dragon Ball and the artwork for Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger itself. He is Akira Toriyama. He is a creator of Wonder Island, Dr. Slump, and of course a little-known franchise, as I mentioned, called Dragon Ball. Side note here, Dr. Slump is where the super strong robot Arielle comes from. She was seen in a filler episode of Dragon Ball Super where she mops the floor with Vegeta.
Yeah.
I didn't know actually.
Beast.
Yeah, I didn't know where she actually came from, but I knew it was one of his earlier mangas. His current, well, not his current manga, but his manga Sandland is now available on Disney Plus as an anime. Plus, a game just came out called Sandland, and it is actually pretty good. Current gen systems. He was pulled into the video games by being asked to be the artist for Dragon Quest, something he would be a part of until his death in 2024. And you know his art is very specific.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Iconic.
It's
I would
iconic.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Toriyama-sama.
Yeah, absolutely. Just iconic in the world as we know today. And if you don't know who he is, you're probably not into anime and stuff like that. So the final person is Yasunori Misuda. He worked on Chrono Trigger, the Xeno series, and Shadowheart franchises. He is the music creator for this game. He gave Hironobu Sakaguchi, Square's vice president, an ultimatum when he started. Either let him produce music or leave the company. He was then assigned to Chrono Trigger with the promise that once he was done, his salary may go up. He now has, to his credit, one of the most iconic soundtracks in video games. He created 54 of the tracks of the game. He drove himself so hard that he ended up with a stomach ulcer, leading him to be hospitalized.
Jesus.
So Nobuo Uematsu, the music creator for Final Fantasy games, came in to finish the soundtrack. His work is considered by fans to be one of the best soundtracks of all time. His first game was Final Fantasy V on the sound effects. He did Chrono Trigger as his first soundtrack, and from 96 to now, Xenogears, Mario Party, Chrono Cross, Mega Man Legends 2, Xenosaga, and of course Sea of Stars, which has just recently come out.
Wow.
So that is the dream team that built this game.
What a resume.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned, all these people that are involved, and how while you're playing it, you're thinking like, wow, this is the perfect combination of Dragon Quest aesthetics and Final Fantasy style gameplay. And it's just like, well, that's why.
Absolutely.
Because and Dream Team is exactly the right term for this.
Yeah, it just seems to take all of the best parts of those things and just crams them into one game.
Yeah, and the idea power, like the game-making power behind this, and they weren't even the same company at the time. You have Enix and Square, which are competing companies, coming together for the first time and building just pure goddamn magic. No wonder they joined up later in life.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Fucking hell.
All right,
What a game.
that's it. That's just the beginning of our discussion. Let's start with the character and the character development. What is your favorite character? Like who? Okay, let's start off. You have 5 characters. You start with Chrono, who's basically your main character through most of the game. Frog, Robo, Marl, Luca, and Magus, if you decide to get him, who's an optional character. Which one was your favorite?
Did you say Isla?
I said Luca.
No, did you say Isla?
Think you forgot her.
Yeah, from
I did
65
forget.
million BC. Don't
Yeah.
forget. Is it
Man,
Isla? Ayla?
this is what happens when I start writing names and I just put etc.
Oh, I pronounced it Isla.
Yeah, I would say Isla.
Yep.
God, I mean, but trying to pick a favorite character from this
Okay,
game.
what's your main party? Let's go with that.
All right, well that I can do because I mean the good thing about this game is it does actually force you to mix up your main team at various points in the game, so you do kind of get a bit of time with everyone. But
Yeah,
I've got to be honest, I'm pretty vanilla. Like I tend to stick with Chrono, Mal, and Luca. And I know it's not a
Really?
popular. I know it's not a popular choice, but I just think it serves the story because it just kind of is like those are the ones that you start with, so those kind of feel like your mains. And like I say, other characters do come drop in and out when their storylines permit, and that's why I don't feel like I'm missing out too much because I do. You do get to mix it up a bit.
yeah, absolutely. Sam, what about you? What was your party when you played?
I would go with either like a Chrono Frog Isla or Chrono Robo Isla. That was like my go-to. Um and then even like, I mean, spoiler alert, whatever, but there's a part where you have to play without Chrono, and I did just fine with, like Frog kind of standing in for Chrono.
Yeah, I was Chrono Robo Ayla most of the game. Like you just beat down enemies.
Yeah,
Unless I was on a specific enemy that required elemental magic, and then I would put Chrono Frog and Luca in the party, and that would be my like magical powerhouse.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, Frog gave you like Chrono gives you lightning, and the Luminaire attack when you get that is pretty much all you ever friggin' need for 99% of the fights. It's way overpowered and
for
game
sure.
breaking. Uh,
Absolutely.
Frog heals and has a bubble attack plus a strong melee attack, and Luca was the fire, and she also had a flare at the end, and that was pretty much second to the Luminaire.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
that it
can
was
agree with that.
Robo and Ayla just beating the crap out of everything.
Sure.
But
I
wait,
don't.
did Alan, did you say your favorite character? Do you have a favorite character?
It's really hard to choose one,
Oh,
because I
okay,
think
okay.
every character brings something to the table. They're all
Let me.
very compelling.
Did we lose Alan?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, sorry, I got a big cut. I think the backup tracks are going to be coming in handy.
Oh
Ah,
yeah.
gotcha.
But let's shift the question. What character's storyline did you find the most compelling?
Oh,
Because each of their storylines, like near the end of the game, you can conclude all their storylines, like their personal
oh.
histories.
Again, it's just one of those. It's like they've all what this game does so well. It just gives you so much time to develop all of these characters' stories because not only do you have the overarching main quest, but every character has their own side quests to explore, and it
Yeah.
really
Yes.
brings a lot of depth to every character. That said, I mean, I think you could make an argument for Frog. His story is absolutely
Yep.
fantastic and heartbreaking.
That's gonna
Yeah,
be
his
mine.
very very good redemption arc for Frog
For
because
sure. I'd make an argument for Robo as well, though, because his
his
whole
yeah
finding his humanity and the whole thing with the I can't think of a name now, the motherboard or what have you, and the other robots, and it's
mother load.
Mother Low. Fuck's sake! Here we go again. The
Uh,
load, and even Magus as well. I mean, which is kind of integral to the entire last third of the story when you think about it.
yeah, it I don't know. Did Magus's story, when you found out his backstory, did it change your opinion of him? Because I still think he's a douche.
He's a douche, but he's a douche in the same way that Vegeta is a douche.
And he
He's
looks
just
like Vegeta
he
too.
does. He does. I can't not think of Vegeta when I'm playing. And again, it's that Toriyama influence.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's just. I mean, yeah, he's still a douche. Yeah,
Yeah,
majorly so. Maybe a kernel of sympathy for him.
not me.
No.
I get him. Like when I do playthroughs now, I add him to the party just because it feels more complete if I do. And I will use him occasionally just when I want somebody with 3 types of magic. But as for his character story, when you learn about him, we're going to get into the whole story a little bit later, so I won't get too specific right now. But when you find out about his past and things like that and how he became who he is, his redemption is trying to destroy the world so that he can, save himself. Because that's basically what he's doing.
Well, and I suppose his sister as well.
I was not going to get into that till later, but
Well, listen, I don't think we can talk about this game without spoiling certain
no,
things.
but there's going to be a story section, and
For real.
I figured that'll give people time to, turn us off and delete the podcast from their phone.
Don't turn us off.
You can't turn Sam off.
No,
No, it's not possible.
No, but yeah, I don't know. I just can't get into Magus.
And you know what as well? I mean, even a character like Isla, or Ayla, or whatever we're calling her, it's just like, there's not a whole lot of depth to that character.
But she's Ugga Bugga.
She's the muscle, and
Yeah.
yet still, like, she's a very, very likable character.
Well, the reason I like her is because she's very straightforward with what she wants, right? There's no nuance to her trying to, tell Chrono something. It's like, I like you, you're strong. That's it.
Yeah.
Boom.
And it's just...
She speaks her mind.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a nice counterpoint to a lot of the other heavy stories. It's just like, well, here's someone who's just spoiling for a fight.
Yeah.
Love it.
Sam, you haven't weighed in yet. Did you find any of the storylines to be very compelling or something that kind of stuck with you?
Yeah, I did. I loved frogs. And I think that's probably my pick. But
Yeah,
I didn't get Magus because I had Frog in my party when I talked to him, and I fought him and I beat him.
You don't even need Frog in your party. He'll show up if you want to fight him.
Oh, does he really? I don't know. He was in my party anyways, but yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll fight you.
Yeah, you'll get a choice.
I think if you do have Frog in your party at the time, though, like, you can choose to fight him or not to fight him, and if you choose not to fight him, he'll join you. But if you have Frog in your party, you're fighting him, and I don't think he joins you after that.
No, if you fight him, he doesn't join you.
Yeah. So
because you killed him.
No, I didn't get Magus.
You're not missing out on much. Magus has dark magic, gravity, and stuff like that. Basically, the spells he used against you in your fight against him, it's what he comes with.
Yeah, but I was looking forward to having. I'd love to. Obviously, I'm gonna play this game again at some point, but the next time I play it, I want to arrange it so that I get Magus in my party because I'd like to give him a shot.
But he does come with like every form of, well, the main 3 forms of elemental magic, I think, doesn't he? Fire, ice, and lightning. Not as powerful.
A couple of dark spells.
Yeah. So he's quite useful, but I mean, certainly far outmatched by some of the other magic users.
Right. One thing I do like about him was when you put him at the head of your party, he floats.
Yeah.
When you sprint. I don't know. Just for some reason, that's more satisfying.
It's very cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. So moving on to the next, I guess, topic I've written down here. So the time travel mechanics. So let's explore the way these mechanics are implemented. Talking about the different time periods. What did you think of them? Like, what did you think of it overall? It's the same world overlaid on itself 5 or 6 times because you have 65 million BC, 12,000 BC, 1080, 680, 1080, 1999, and then 2300 AD or 80?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So what did you think of the concept of it being laid over top itself? Like, if you time travel with the epoch from one time period to the next, you would actually... like if you time traveled over top of the castle, you'd be where the castle is in every time period. You would always stay in the same spot on the map, just the map would change.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty genius way of having like a huge world to explore, but with a very small map. I mean, because the map is not huge,
No.
but it's the way that you have all of these different, and there are subtle changes to the map in different time periods, but it's
Well,
just
especially from 65 million BC to the present, which is 1000
sure,
AD, which makes
absolutely,
sense because 65 million years, the planet's going to shift a little.
absolutely. But I think I don't know if it was a way to save space on the game, maybe, but it certainly gives you a hell of a lot of world to explore. I love it.
Makes the world huge. I mean, like I think even though there's a lot of differences between some of these time periods as far as, like what islands are there or not there, or what's accessible or not. Like sometimes there's a cave and sometimes there's not. The backbone of that map is still there and present in each era.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I think game developers were genius in this time period for coming up with ways to use the same map over again, but have like just like a completely different lay over the top, kind of like how like Link Between Worlds does it. It's like two maps, but it's really over one. And it's the same with this. Like you're cycling through different versions of the same map, but there's so much different, between time period to time period.
definitely.
Yeah. Now, how did you guys feel about how they use the different time periods? Like, let's take the Sunstone, for example. The Sunstone's an item you get that you have to charge by leaving it in the sun for eons and eons. So you take it back to the 65 billion BC, put it in a cave where the sun beams on it, and then you have to pick it up in 1000 AD or 2300 AD where it's fully charged. So, what do you think of things like that in the game? How they use the back and forth between some timelines?
Oh, absolutely genius. Like I am a sucker for any kind for any kind of time travel story. And the ability to sort of go back, change things, see how it impacts the future, just basically using time itself as a mechanic to move the game forward. It's just masterfully done. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just so much fun to play around in these different time periods and see what you can change, what you can tweak. So good.
Yeah, it's I always found it interesting the little things that change. Like you don't get to see it at the beginning of the game, but the first place you go back to is 600 AD, and then you have an event where you basically save Marl from being erased from the timeline because her ancestor was never rescued. But when you go back to 1000 AD, it implies that because of that incident, the kingdom has created a court system, and now you're arrested for stuff you did at the fair for kidnapping Marl, and you're actually put on trial. And this is all a result of you going back to 600 AD and saving the queen.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of the game, by the way.
Yeah, first 10 minutes. No, great start to the game. But it's things like that. There's when you're doing the sunstone, there's a part where it disappears from the cave, and you actually have to go back to Poire, which is a little town south of the castle of Guardia, and you'll see the house glowing, and the sunstone's there, but they're a greedy family. They don't want you to have it because what they find they keep. You go back to the past and you give this lady some jerky that you find randomly throughout the game or you can buy somewhere. And if you give it to her without selling it to her, it teaches the family to be altruistic. So when you go back to the present, they're like, "Oh yeah, have the sunstone, no problem, brah."
Yeah,
It's
they become Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. It's things like that that I found very enjoyable about this game. Um, there's other ones like you have to rebuild the castle by going to the future or back to the past and killing ghosts, and then they would fix it in the future or the present.
I
Sorry,
liked that one. That one was a fun one.
yeah, but that one felt a little bit fetch questy sometimes.
Yes and no.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
guess
trying
a
to
little
think.
bit.
Like, what was the name of the guy? Oh, that's going to bother me now. Because you go to his grave,
Oh,
the adventurer. Christ, it's going
Yeah.
to annoy me. So yeah, you meet him, and he gives you some pop, which I assume was like a bottle of whiskey or something in the original. Um,
well, Are you talking like the grave inside that castle?
Not inside. No, there's a point up north, and you go
Yeah.
up there. You pour the drink over his grave in the future, and his ghost comes back and tells you, well, what you're looking for is in this castle, etc., and tells you. I think it's the Rainbow Stone quest, and it's just little things
Yeah,
like
I
that.
can't remember his name.
It's gonna pop up later on, and I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those quests were like I had to I used a guide just a little bit because it was like, man, I mean, there's a lot here, and especially like if you're playing this as a kid or as a teenager, like back when this originally came out, and this was your game, like there's so much game here for you to figure out. That I mean, you could play this for hours and hours and hours and hours. Like not that I didn't, but like if you want to play it without a guide and try to really go through and figure out all this stuff, there's so much cool stuff that you can figure out.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
All the little side quests and different like time loop things.
Did anything in the game kind of hit you the wrong way? Like, I'll take the first quest, the one where you go save Marl, because it follows the grandfather paradox, where you go back in time, kill your grandfather, but you don't exist, so you can't go back in time to kill your grandfather. You know that one.
I literally was going to bring this up, but I just thought, no, let me not complicate matters. But yeah, it is like it's if you go back in time and you affect the past so much so that it affects you, it stops you from being born. Now you're not available to go back in time so then yeah.
Yeah, like how Futurama described it. Fry goes back to 1940, whatever, sleeps with his grandma, becomes his own grandfather, then goes back to the gets born in his present and goes to the future, and then repeats that process. So Fry never sleeps with his grandma; he's never born. Yeah.
So when did he first?
That was an Emmy award-winning episode. I love it.
I love that episode.
Do you know what?
How about these sugar cookies?
To go completely off of topic, like I have literally today been binging Futurama. I've really gotten back into it in a big way. Started from the beginning, and I think I'm like on series 2 or 3 now. But
it's always worth rewatching. It's timeless.
Good time.
Getting back on topic, going back to that grandfather paradox discussion, I felt like that was done very well, but it kind of got poo-pooed on for the rest of the game, because that one basically said, if something happens in an era, it's going to affect your present or the rest of the time periods going forward, but that never came up again.
Huh.
So I can't think of an instant in my mind where the grandfather paradox happened again.
I think if you were to like follow every time travel paradox, you're not going to have a game at the end of the day. It's because it can get so convoluted that sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I'm not going to think too much about the consequences of this, because
we're just going to Back to the Future this shit where everything changes, but Marty McFly always remembers what happened.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
right,
I can
set
accept
it back
that.
to normal.
Yeah.
Like you would never be able to set it exactly back to normal if you fucked it up.
Yeah.
No. And, Marty almost slept with his mom too. So it's a lot of incestuous time travelers in our
well, let's
media.
not say he almost did. He was pretty repulsed by the fact that his mom thought he was hot.
Oh, he would have hit it.
No, come on.
I'm gonna be the one who goes a little bit off topic, but there's a YouTuber video where one of those social media videos where Marty McFly goes back and he does sleep with his mom. So when he gets back to the dock, he's like, "Oh, Marty, you slept with your mom. What the hell are you doing? Now you have to go back and stop it." And then so he sends Marty back again to stop himself from sleeping with his mom. And he shows back and goes, "Marty, you had a 3-way with your mom."
Fuck.
Really well done.
Toma.
Right.
It was Toma. Oh,
that's right. Toma was the little kid who grabbed the hero medal.
No, that was Toma is the adventurer.
Yeah, but wasn't he the little kid who had the hero medal back at
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
in 600 AD.
No, that was another character, and now that's going to annoy me as well because I can't think of his name.
Oh man.
Oh,
So much to keep track of. See, this is such a complex and just like
Oh, you're right.
rich
It's
game.
Tada who had it.
that's it. And it's just there are so many characters and
That's
so
too
many
similar.
lives you
Come
can
on.
influence in this game. So
Yeah.
forgive us for not remembering, guys. Come on, we're going to get
Yeah,
letters.
but I had a thought there. Thought's completely gone. So let's move forward.
Oh, I was
This
gonna say what happened.
this is going to come up in my 16 facts about Chrono Trigger at the end of the episode. But did you know this was the first game to actually use the New Game Plus mechanic?
I was not
I think
aware
I
of
had
that.
heard that before.
Yes, and they did that so you could get all 12 of the multiple endings. And it was such a great way to make the game replayable.
Oh.
Yeah. That's revolutionary. I mean, that's like, and that's almost standard now.
Yeah.
Even if New Game Plus is just like kind of a harder version or whatever, but yeah.
The thing
The
is,
first
as well,
RPG to do that or what? Because I mean, technically Kirby had extra game.
Extra game, but not New Game Plus. New Game Plus
Right.
being the start the whole game from scratch with everything you finish the
With
game
your save file. Yeah. Basically.
which does make steamrolling that first portion of the game just so satisfying.
Oh god, yeah. I have a file on my DS copy of the game that when I just want to kind of go through the story again, I start with that because everybody's level 99. I got all the best equipment for everybody, and it's just basically easy mode there. Luminary your way through 95% of the game, and then have a little tiff with Lavos every so often.
A little tiff. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is as well is like you've got a New Game Plus with this game, and it's a game that you are going to want to play again because there is so many different ways that you can influence the ending of this game. I mean, what did you say? Like, how many endings were there?
12 endings.
11?
There's 12 endings
12.
total. Some of the endings are nuanced depending on what you do through the game. So I can't remember. I watched a video of absolutely every version of every ending, and it was something like 23 or 24 different versions of these 12 endings.
Jesus. And there's so many little points in the game that can influence how that goes. And again, you're not really aware of it as you're doing it.
No, like some of the little tiny tidbits that change an ending is like the one quest where you get to save Luca's mom from the machine.
Oh, I love that.
If you
One of
save
my
her and she
favorite
can
points
walk
in the
again,
game.
yeah, if you save her and she walks again, it actually changes the original ending a little bit, where she actually gets up and walks during the Millennial Fair closing ceremonies.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So-
And then like also I was thinking about this because when I finished the game, it's like, all the characters have dialogue, and that dialogue would be different depending on who you have in your party, right? So there's like
Yeah.
variation based on, this is ending whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know, ending 3, but you've got, Luca, Isla, and Robo in your party or whatever. Like, I don't know, I'm just throwing names out. But like, they're all gonna say different things. So there's even more variation if you want to get like really down into the details.
But when you start New Game Plus, the quickest you can finish the game is right at the beginning after you get Marl. The telepad on the right actually has a portal right to Lavos, and you can take him on with just yourself and Luca. It's the hardest ending to get, unless, of course, you ran through the game a few times and they're leveled up. But
Yeah.
I mean, you get that, and you get the what they call the hardest ending, the developers room, where you actually
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, you get to talk to the quote unquote talk to the people who made the game as their characters in the game.
Oh shit.
So, oh yeah, it's
and this is
definitely
all
worth
the
replaying.
original this is all the original Super Nintendo cartridge too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
That's
maybe
just
there's
crazy. Like,
I think there's one extra ending for the DS version, but don't quote me on that.
I think you're right, but like how far ahead of its time is this game where like it's doing things like this, or it's presenting multiple endings, and obviously New Game Plus we talked about, and there's I don't know if the active battle system had been used before. I don't know if 6 or Final Fantasy 4 or 6 had it, or any other games on the Super Nintendo, but like this is like really the the first wave of the future, right?
Yeah. I
It
suppose
really
this
feels that way.
I suppose this is what happens when you get a team like that together, because if you've gotten this dream team together, you're not really you're gonna be hands off with them. You're gonna let them do their thing, and this is where you get this kind of game, because they are just allowed to let their creativity just run wild.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just think of the storyboarding, that like all the ways that they have to link things up and loop things back must have looked absolutely fucking insane.
All I
For
can see
real.
is a Charlie Day with the
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
yarn and stuff.
the yarns all
Um,
over, and I mean that's
just
basically what it would have to look like. It's not a linear, like it is somewhat like there's a linear progression to it, I guess, but there's a lot of different paths and loops, and man.
oh yeah. Just looked it up. It was Final Fantasy IV was the first game to use the active time battle system.
Okay. So I
So,
mean, but still, it's like you're incorporating that and all of this other new stuff, and it's successful. It's not like nowadays where it's like, oh, we tried something new and everyone's like, this fucking sucks.
yeah, but everybody has Twitter nowadays. Back in our day, we had to write a letter. Dear Square
Oh God,
Soft,
could you imagine? Square Chrono
I
Trigger
hope this
is
letter
released in the
finds
Twitter
you
era.
well. Oh
Like
God.
Chrono Trigger is the worst game of all time. It's like Final Fantasy 13.
Oh,
I'm
Just
still
kidding. I'm
playing that.
sorry.
I'm still playing.
I know.
I think I'm nearly done with it, but
oh, what a terrible game.
I'm hanging on.
So a lot of unique bosses in this game. Boss fights. Yeah, did you find a lot of them challenging? What was the most challenging boss? I actually have an
Ooh.
answer for this.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah, there was. Hold on, I can't remember what exactly it was.
Oh, I've remembered.
Um,
I've remembered what this boss was since I was like 12.
let's see. I really liked Black Tyranno. I thought that one was really fun.
Black Tyranno was fun, but he wasn't the hardest.
No, not the hardest by far. I'm just scrolling through and finding fun ones.
The fun ones.
Fucking Dream Devourer sucked.
Well, that's part of the extra dungeons, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think that's an extra DS boss.
I think I did fight that though. That was a tough one.
God,
Sure.
I can't find that.
Man.
I know exactly what boss.
Well, go ahead, Alan.
So when I first played this game, now bear in mind, like we didn't get this game over here in the UK. Certainly not when it first came out. So my only option was to emulate it on a friend's computer back when I was like 12 or 13 years old. And we were playing through this game and we got stomped at Giga fucking Gaia.
that is my answer as well, because that is a fight you have to have all three elements of
Yeah.
magic.
And like with all three, the head and the arms in play, he is just throwing out spell after spell after spell at you. I mean, if you ever needed Luminaire early on in the game, it's there.
I don't take on this fight anymore without getting Luminaire by this point. I go up and down that mountain until I get it. And there's a few bosses on this. If you're lucky enough to kill them, they'll give you a good amount of ability points,
Sure.
which helps you get that Luminaire. But my God.
Yeah.
2 points I grind is in Magus's tower. I get Lightning 2 before I fight Magus. And here I get Luminaire before I fight Giga Gaia.
You have to. You have to. I mean, it is such a huge difficulty spike. And, I mean, fucking cool looking boss, though. I mean, my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
It takes up the
I think
whole
it kicked
screen.
my ass too.
But that killed my first ever playthrough of the game. And even to this day, when I'm climbing, because it's
The floating mountain.
it is the floating mountain. I can't think what it's called, but yeah, when I'm going through there, I have the fear. I have the genuine fear of like. You ever have that though? There's a certain boss in a video game that you just like. This guy
Dreading.
This guy kicked my ass as a kid, and I've been like traumatized ever since.
See, I don't have a fear of a boss, but in Far Cry 5, I have a fear of triggering the events that lead you to the three children, their cutscenes and stuff, because I find them just halting my progress in the game of me having fun.
Oh, see, it's been a minute since I played number 5.
Well, long story short is when you hit a certain level of destruction or killing people, well, they come after you in an unavoidable attack, and eventually leads to a cutscene where you're brought to a specific part of the map, and they go through their whole mind fuckery. And yeah,
Okay, I'm going to have to play that again.
oh, it's a great game.
Oh yeah, they all are.
But no, you're right. Giga Gaia absolutely fucking stomps you. Black Tyranno, fun fight again. Lightning, him and Ayla,
Yeah.
like Chrono and Ayla. There, when you get them together, and you can shoot the lightning at Ayla, and it charges her up, and she
Volt
does a
Bite.
punch.
That one's
Yeah.
awesome.
Volt
Just-
Bite is a beast of an attack.
Yeah, and then that's basically just dummies the Black Tyranno because they're weak to lightning.
That's right.
And no other boss, like not even Lavos, is as daunting as taking on Giga Gaia.
I 100% agree with you. But
And-
I think so too. I don't remember having too much trouble with anything aside from like some of the optional ones.
yeah,
Yeah, the optional ones don't count in this sense because, I mean, they're optional, right?
that said, you know,
That's the only reason. Like, I'm not saying, you didn't have trouble with them, but it's kind of like playing Super Mario RPG and saying the Final Fantasy optional boss was, way too hard and made you want to stop playing the game. I mean, just don't fight them.
I
don't
just
fight
didn't
them.
fight him. But that said, for all of my fear of Giga Gaia, still one of my favourite parts of the game.
Absolutely. Now, the big question is, who is the main boss of this game? No answers?
No, I do have an answer, and I'm going to
Go ahead.
And I'm just trying to think because I've forgotten her fucking name. Queen. Who is that?
Beryl.
Sorry,
No, that Queen Beryl is from fucking Sailor Moon. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's
Queen
what the
Zeal.
hell?
Is it Queen Zeal?
Zeal. Yes,
Like-
it's Queen Zeal.
Like, what a dick!
But that is incorrect.
You're going to say
The
Dawn,
main-
aren't you?
The main boss of this game, actually, Dalton, he plays a big part in Chrono Cross, but I'm not going to get into that. The main boss of this game is the right pod in the inside of Lavos when you fight the three,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Lavos and the two
yeah.
pods. Because if you don't kill that right pod, you can't beat Lavos.
See, I
Which
thought
is
you were.
really-
I thought you were trying to
really
be like.
fucked.
I wasn't being cheeky. I'm telling you, that is the main boss of the game, is the right pod of Lavos.
That is true.
The one
Oh, man.
that's the one that they call Lavos Core.
Yeah, well,
Right?
I
'Cause
call it
there's,
the
like,
right
the-
pod of Lavos because it's a pod on the right of Lavos.
Well, right, it's on the right side, but it's really like, yeah, that was sneaky. That was really sneaky.
That was, considering like you focus, on the pods and you leave the center guy alone, and he's the one who's actually like doing the damage. So you don't want to attack him. You try to get rid of the pods, and the next thing you know, you kill the right pod, and they all die, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, the game itself has even taught you that because there are several bosses in the game. In the future, you've got the machine with the pods. You've got Giga Gaia with the hands. This mechanic is used several times, and it's always the central main body that's the boss.
Get rid of the appendages, and then
Right.
focus on the boss before he revives the appendages. Right?
absolutely,
Yeah, and then
absolutely.
start the
So
cycle over again, right?
puts the old switcheroo on you.
The old bamboozle.
Yeah, I am bamboozled.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's clever, but it's not something you wouldn't think to do, which is nice at least. And then I'm looking at a sheet that has all the different bosses on it, and it's funny because actually that core has like 3 times the hit points of either of the components. Like the one is really easy to destroy, and the other one's like really tough, and that's the actual one that's the core, the
Yeah.
boss. That's pretty
Yeah.
fun.
Any other bosses that were of note? Like you have the Chancellor. He turns into that dude in like 600 AD, and then 1000 AD. You fight his ancestor.
Oh yeah,
Like-
yeah.
Wait,
That's-
was there anybody else? The skeleton on the bridge with the core.
I like Massa and Mune.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
Yeah, because it's just like obviously they're just testing you to see if you're worthy. But I think you fight them individually at first, and then they join and become that big hulking. It's Masamune. But that's a pretty cool fight. And literally anything that happens in Ozzy's castle. Any boss fight in there. In fact, the boss fight with Ozzy in Ozzy's castle is fucking genius.
That I remember that. Yeah, it was entire thing was meant to be like a whole joke level because because they're bumbling idiots of what are they called? Friggin' words hard. Bumbling idiots of lackeys for Magus there, and then when Magus disappears, they try to go it on their own, and nothing goes right.
Yeah, they basically become like Emperor Pilaf, and
That's who I was thinking of.
yeah.
All right, let's kick it up. I'm gonna guess what's the first song you guys think of when this game this plays, because we're gonna talk about the soundtrack. So here's my guess. So good. Oh, I love this song.
Yeah, you're right. This is my favorite.
That is
Yeah,
Frog's
Frog's theme.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
That
I
is,
just sometimes I'll just put that on and just like march around my yard.
it is a marching tune, isn't it? It is definitely.
Yeah, it just feels so like
But
I'm going on like a little adventure. I'm a little frog man.
so in the PlayStation version, they added the cutscenes, which were carried over to the DS version, and this song is played during one of my favorite scenes of the game. It's that moment Frog kind of he gets his courage back because he's got the Masamune and the hero medal, and now he's going to go take on Magus, and he has to cut open that mountain.
Yeah.
And he goes over his little speech about his self-worth and stuff like that, and his mentor Glenn, and then this song is playing, and like you're just getting right into it, and like cut the fucking mountain. And then he does it. He like just takes his sword and he slices a mountain in half, and you're like, oh my god, this is so fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And that song's playing.
I love how everyone's got such interesting names, and then it's just like Glenn. It's
Glenn.
like, no, Glenn is the guy. Glenn isn't the guy that shows you how to cut a mountain in half. He's training you at the grocery store. Like,
Yep. No, Frog is cutting
not to
a mountain in
disparage
half.
any of our Glens. If you're listening, Glenn, you have a great name. It's not an exotic name.
And if you do work at a grocery store, we nailed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And conversely, if you happen to be a Glenn who's ever sliced a mountain in half, Pixar, it didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one of my favourite parts of the game. Just Frog cutting the mountain in half there. It's just iconic.
Like one of the most motivating scenes to carry forward. And I know the game kind of it dips in that energy when you go into Magus's castle because this heroistic music plays and you walk through this cave and you get to the tower and the music kind of dies for like this dripping noise.
Yeah.
But it's still a great level. It just, you're not as motivated. Like it just kind of kills the flow without killing the flow. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I
Yeah,
get
it
you.
does.
I'm just trying to think because that wasn't the tune. It's an incredible tune, but it's not the one I was thinking of. And I'm trying to think of the name. I mean, the battle music is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
but
that
the
one's good too.
tune
It's
that
got a vibe.
plays, I think it's called, I want to say Secret of the Forest, but don't quote me on that. And it's when they're... hang on, I'm going to see if I can find the name.
That would be
That's
Secret of the Forest right there. Very subdued, very relaxing.
Yeah. I don't know, though. There's something else I'm thinking of, and I'll tell you what it is. No, Yearnings of the Wind. That's the one.
That one.
That's the one. That's the one I always think of.
Yearnings of the Wind. I am looking for that on my list, but where was it played again?
Do you know what?
There's a song that plays when, I don't know if this is the same one you're thinking of, Alan, but there's a song that plays when you have Luca rejoin your party.
Maybe.
And it's like,
Oh, I know that song.
that Overworld one is great.
Yeah, that's the one
Yeah,
I'm
I love
thinking
that
of.
one.
That I don't
I
know
felt so
why.
relaxed
Yeah,
when that
exactly.
came
It's just
on.
so
Just so,
chilled, and it's just
yeah.
I love this game.
And I
My
love that
favorite.
that there's no overworld encounters at all. Just like you just walking around, you can just walk from place to place and just vibe with the music, and it doesn't get interrupted or
No, that's
you
true.
know,
And
yeah.
that's something
Yeah.
we haven't brought up. It's there are no random fights in this game. Like everything's on the screen in the style of the best RPGs.
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I liked it.
we got a section on the fighting there. I was going to get into that a little bit later. But I just wanted to bring up my favorite song of the game, and that's
Yeah, let's hear it.
Scala's theme. I love this song. This is played whenever she's on screen, and then in a couple of levels in 12,000 BC.
God, it's just so beautiful, isn't it?
Like every song in this game is just better than the last, and then there's no bad music in the
No.
game itself.
I mean, I think we could
And they were
literally
able to
make an
do this on
episode.
a yeah.
Yeah, there's actually an anime that kind of goes over the Millennial Fair. I downloaded it. I found a copy, but I never actually got around to watching it. So
It's
it's a.
just
Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
go
Sam.
ahead. Oh, I mean, I was gonna say like you probably are playing remastered versions of the tracks, which is fine, but like even the like just the Super Nintendo versions of all of these songs, and then the fact that they're composed by such great composers who knew their way around the hardware. It's a 16-bit game for the Super Nintendo, and it sounds incredible.
Oh yeah,
You're not it's not chip tune sounding, or like some games are just like whatever, throw some music in there, it doesn't matter. Like this
yeah.
is
They paid for
well
the whole
thought out.
sound chip. They're going to use the whole sound chip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it's just
It's just that everything complements what you're doing so perfectly
Yeah.
well.
right.
Let's get into what Alan was talking about, the random encounters, because I just wanted to throw my favorite song out there because you guys had a chance and I wanted one too. But that is actually something I love about this game, is the no random encounters. Like the overworld push that off to the side because you're this tiny little sprite that you just walk from point to point. But you go through the levels, and even when you get surprised by an enemy that jumps out of the bushes, it's always the same spot.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and there's always a way to avoid it by walking a certain path. So if you don't want to get into a fight, you can avoid the enemies.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
and it sort of makes sense. It's just like, and it's not like you're not just pulling enemies out of your ass. It's just like, there's an enemy jumping out of a bush makes a lot of sense, and
Yeah.
the vast majority of the enemies in this game are on the screen at all times.
Yeah, and the game encourages you to take out every enemy you see, because if you do that, you're pretty much at the level you need to be by the time you get to the boss. But if you start skipping enemies, that's where you kind of become under leveled, and you're just gonna have to go back and grind them anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Like,
really not very much grinding as long as you
no,
just kind of progress through, and yeah.
just a couple of spots where I just wanted to get like overpowered before I fought the boss, but I didn't have to. Like the bosses are designed to be beaten at the level you reach them at.
Right.
Except for Giga Gaia.
Except for Giga Guy,
Yeah.
you have to have the
That
nuclear option.
fucking prick.
Oh man. So the story of the game as well. Uh there's some kind of overarching themes of this, including kind of the fate, sacrifice, and friendship theme about the game, because they start off. You go back in time, you save Marl, you come back to 1000 AD, you end up in the future, and that's where you get the fate, because that's where they learn about Lavos. And from there, yeah, the game progresses. One of the characters ends up sacrificing himself to or herself to save everybody else. And in the end, it's about how much, it's the friends we made along the way. So what are your thoughts on the kind of their destiny and their free will inside of this game? The way it's explained is this is going to happen whether they like it or not.
Yeah, it's just sort of like what I find interesting is that these guys go from what 1000 AD to 2300 AD and find out that the world has been completely destroyed. Well, more or less.
Because somebody partied like it was 1999, and that was
Sure enough.
Lavos.
And that was Lavos. And it's always struck me that, these guys don't actually need to do anything. It's like, this is one of those things where it's just like, well, you're all going to be long dead by the time this comes to pass. So it's like, it really speaks to, I don't know, just how good these characters are. That it's just like, well, no, I mean, all right, this isn't going to affect us at all, but we need to do something about this. Like, we can't let this happen. And throughout the entire story, like, Lavos kind of takes a back seat for pretty much the entire game. And it's really more about all of the other characters and all of the other villains and sort of what knowing that destiny is going to make good people do and bad people do.
That's absolutely true. Plus, the side kind of story of that is you learn about Lavos, his origins, his development, and his destroying of the world.
Yeah.
Because you go to 65 million BC and you see the red star up in the sky, which turns out to be Lavos is from space. Lavos buries himself underground. Then you have the 12,000 BC where they use the the redstone. What was that machine?
Mammon machine.
The Mammoth machine to draw Lavos's power, which awakens him.
Yeah.
1000 AD, everything's fine. Or, sorry, 600 and 1000 AD, everything's fine. But in 600 AD, Magus wakes Lavos briefly, which kind of sets off another part of the story. And then in 2300 AD, you see the result of Lavos coming back in 1999, which you can actually go visit and watch Lavos come out of the ground and destroy the planet.
Yeah. Which,
So
even then on that system, it's shocking to see.
yeah, it's again really well done because you see this kind of futuristic world that translates to 2300 AD where all these domes are.
Mm-hmm.
Except for it's lush, it's green. It looks like, society has reached that utopia stage of development. And then you go to 2300 AD and it's completely fuckered.
Yeah.
Like they've never recovered because Lavos has not only destroyed the planet, but destroyed any ability to grow crops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Emotional storytelling in this game. I mean, those final quests, like after you, like right before you finish the game, you have the chance to do those side quests.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone had an emotional element to their story, like the character story, because every side quest is about the finalization of a character's personal story. So Frog finds Cyrus, you save Luca's mom, Robo, realizes that he was a machine built to destroy humans, but goes against his programming. Who else is there? Ayla, what does she do?
Well, she goes back and follows up with the Queen of the Reptites.
That's right. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's right. That one was a tough one.
Yeah. Sure enough.
But yes,
Just going back to those caves again.
Yeah.
But everyone has that emotional element to it, right? Like you see the result of the impact these stories have on these characters. Marl's is the worst, but you get the Rainbow Blade.
That is a good fucking blade.
It has an almost 1 in 2 chance to do a critical hit,
which is amazing.
I like those fantastic odds.
Yeah, it is so overpowered, and if you don't want to use it, use Luminaire because it's Chrono's sword, and he just becomes a beast of a character. So when you go to New Game Plus and you have this blade that does critical hits, you're just like, you might as well call him the lawnmower man because he's just fucking mowing the lawn his way through the game.
Yeah, especially Cyclone. Yep.
Yeah.
But one of the things I really like about this is just like, yes, you've got all of these side quests at the end of the game, and where you get to wrap up, and that's the key point, is wrap up these character stories. Now, they don't wait until the end to dump all of this on you. Each character's story is intricately woven into the main story as you go. You get little bits, just little bits here and there, which makes completing their individual stories just so emotionally satisfying, because you've seen like shades of each character's personality throughout the game, and when it comes to a culmination, it just makes sense.
No, absolutely. God, it's just so well done. And that scene where they're in the woods, just sitting by the fire, Luke is fixing Robo, Chrono's
Ah,
asleep because he doesn't talk anyways, and everybody just kind of having that what feels like the last moment before, the big ending of the game.
yeah.
Uh,
One of my
it's just
favorite points of the game.
it is just like I have that as my phone background. Like I actually got a GIF of it
Yeah.
and I put it as my phone background. So just the fire pit going and them sleeping around it. It's just, oh God, such a great moment of the game. And that's where we finalize Luca's story.
Yeah. Oh, yes, because she just branches off and sort of goes back in time. And I will fucking reload a save point before I let anything happen to Luca's mum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to input the characters properly. And I played the game. With my last playthrough of the game, I forgot what they were.
Yeah.
And I know you have to find the note inside the house to, it tells you which buttons to push. And it's very cleverly done because it's just her name. But how do you spell her name with the Super Nintendo controller? Well, there's buttons with letters.
Yep.
Figure her name out. Bingo, bango. You have the letter combination.
Lara.
Baba. Baxi. Actually, there's another, there's a code early in 2300 AD where you actually have to input a word based on the 4 buttons on the face of the controller.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that.
Zabby.
Zabby, yeah,
Yeah.
it's cleverly done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Genius use of the controller.
Now, before we get into the wrap up, which we're getting pretty close to, thank God, because we're pushing the 2-hour mark here soon. Let's talk about the iconic graphic and art style of the character's design by the influence of Akira Toriyama, and how the pixel art translates to that. Like, have you guys ever played a Dragon
Yeah.
Ball game, like back in the pixel day era, not like the current Dragon Ball games?
No, but I mean this game, like I played the DS version, which is kind of like a remaster, but even so, like that's not that much of an upres from a Super
No.
Nintendo, and they really capture the essence of his artwork in the sprites, and I think that's incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the design of this game, it's very like when you're on the overworld, like I said, you're a tiny little sprite, but you're a noticeable sprite. And if you stand still for more than I think a minute, he starts waving his arms and trying to get your attention. But
Yeah,
Which is another like lovely, and we've said this before on other episodes, like Sonic and things like that. It's just that you don't need to do that sort of thing, but it's always like fun to see. Like
yeah,
it's just something they just put in there just to get a little laugh out of you.
no, absolutely, and I like it. Like the art in this game is just very nice. I love how they don't. Like, Final Fantasy VII, when you go into a battle, they change the art style. The characters become a little more lifelike, I guess would be described, as opposed to the blobulous entities they are in the overworld. Well, this doesn't do that. Your battle arena is where you are in the map, and it does seem like it has a predetermined, layout of where the characters are going to be during the battle. But I just love how they just took the sprites of the characters, and that's what you get for the entire game.
Yeah,
outside of the overworld.
And they're really expressive as well.
That's what I was about to say, is the emotion they can portray through these is just intense.
Yeah. I mean, their little celebrations when at the end of a fight. The fact that, a lot of 16-bit RPGs, I mean, it's just move forward, arm moves, move back. And this, the characters run, they jump, they swing their weapons.
Their attacks are very animated.
Yeah.
Like when Chrono hits that. Yeah, when Chrono hits that critical hit, he's slicing that sword through the enemy.
Yeah. And then when they get hit, they have their little panic animations and things like that. It's just
and
with
I love those.
and with that Akira Toriyama art style, I mean, I love Dragon Ball, and I mean that goes a long way to like, you know, putting this game in a special place in my heart.
Yeah, there's a reason I love this game so much, and this is one of it. Like, I guess if we had to compare it to other RPGs, I'd say maybe the artwork of Secret of Mana kind of comes close, not
Yeah.
in the style of Akira
Yeah.
Toriyama, but just in the characters are a little bit larger.
Yeah, and very animated. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that animated style looks very similar to this.
Yeah, but if you take a game like Final Fantasy VI, where the sprites are pretty small, but they have a lot of them, they have to put the animations in those little sprites, so you basically have the same motions
Hmm.
through all however many characters are in Final Fantasy VI. So Chrono Trigger really does give individual, you know, movements to the characters to give them their own personality.
Yeah, even someone like Chrono, who, as you've said, is a silent protagonist.
Doesn't talk except for one line in the entire game.
And still, you know, one of my favorite protagonists, because
Yep.
unlike, you know, he doesn't say much, but he's not a mopey bad dude with a checkered past and what have you, who just like shuns company and what have you, like most of your Final Fantasy protagonists. Like he seems like a pretty chill dude. You know, he's just happy to be there, happy to fight the good fight, and very, very uncomplicated.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts about him. He's doesn't talk. Like I said, there's one line in one of the endings that he'll say. He does everything through, like, him speaking is you picking an option.
Yeah.
Everybody else speaks kind of for him. It works really well. It puts you in the role of Chrono there. So, you know, your thoughts, ideas, and all that are what the game is like portraying as his thoughts and ideas. No, you're right. He's like one of the best protagonists of a game. I think I'd put him above Link as the silent protagonist I like the most.
Yeah, and I'm a die-hard Legend of Zelda fan, but I would have to agree 100%.
I think
and
it's
they never
done better.
used him again.
Yeah, which is crazy. I think it's done better. You know, Chrono is a silent protagonist than Link. It's mostly like, you know, inputting yes or no, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, can you imagine if they put a Chrono into Smash Brothers?
Oh, I'd main
He'd
him all
use
day long.
Luminaire. Yeah, he'd use Luminaire and that'd be it.
Yeah.
Game over.
Game over. Game over, man. Game over.
All right, so that's basically all the topics I'd written down, but I do have 16 Chrono Trigger facts before we rate the game there. So you guys ready for this?
Oh,
Yeah, go for it.
Some of this I might have mentioned before, so just bear with me, and we'll skip the ones I've already done. So, like I said before, this is the first game to tinker with the New Game Plus mode, giving players the options to find all 12 endings. So, the second one is if you beat the game from the first chance you get after meeting Marl, you get the secret dev room ending, which I also mentioned. Jesus, we're down to 14 now. Did you know you can adopt the cats by playing games at the fair? So this is kind
I just
of
couldn't figure out how to do it.
yeah. You I think it's you win something in that tent of horrors, and you get a cat. And then when you bring them home, you have to get cat food. And at the end of the game, you'll end up with like a whole bunch of cats in the house.
do you know what? I did know that, but I knew that back then, and I'd completely forgotten now, and that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's just it's a nice little touch that you don't have to do, because I don't very often do it because I don't stay long enough to play the games at the fair.
No, I'd completely forgotten about it altogether, frankly.
Yeah. Did you know you can alter the? This is not on my list, but did you know you can alter the results of the race around the fair by standing in front of the characters, and it'll actually slow them down slightly.
Shut
So if you
up.
Yeah, I noticed that.
yeah, if you bet on your horse there, you get in the way of the guy who's going the fastest, so that you can kind of slow him down, and your horse will. Well, it's not your horse. Your character that you bet on will actually win.
Fuck's sake.
Oh, yeah. All right. Fact number 4. Ozzy, Slash, and Flea are named after the musicians their names sound like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It absolutely
That's pretty
makes
cool.
sense.
That
I
is
kind of
cool.
knew that. I figured that was the way they did it because it was just too on the nose.
Yeah.
The 1080 timeline is meant to look like a combination of Holland and Japan. It
Wow.
really does. I can see
Yeah,
it,
it
I
does.
guess. Radical Dreamers, which me and Sam have talked about, is a story game that connects Chrono Trigger to Chrono Cross. I didn't really see that. I know the whole thing that kind of triggered Chrono Cross, and that's kind of something you read online, but Radical Dreamers didn't really make that connection for me. But the idea of the story is, and it's in the Chrono Cross Radical Dreamers edition you can buy now. It's just a story-based thing where you play as the role of Kid. That's right. Her name is Kid.
Yeah, Kid.
And you go through who will end up being the main antagonist of Chrono Cross. You go through his mansion there looking for stuff. I didn't find it that fun.
I got to restart it. I ended up failing out of it. I
Yeah,
was like, what the fuck?
I've never even tried it, but I think I
No.
want to give it a go anyway. Just to
It's
see what it's all about.
Yeah, worth giving a go. It's a choose your own adventure game.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna do it with a guide next time,
Yeah, it's probably the best
just
way.
so I can finish it and get the story out of it.
Number 7, Ted Woolsey translated the game to English in 30 days.
Wow.
God damn, with
yeah.
all the different fuck.
Ted,
Can you
I know
imagine?
you're listening. Well done.
You're a beast.
Yeah. Big up, Ted.
I think he did a couple other games, but I forgot to write them down. The next one comes with a music clip because there was a dungeon in the prehistoric era that was removed because it affected the pacing of the game. There are still assets in the game data for these, such as the singing mountain music, which would have been for the level of the same name, and it was actually added in the DS version. So this is it.
Yeah,
God damn. That's
I recognize
beautiful.
it.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
sound familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember where I heard it in the game, but it was not in the original SNES version of the game.
Oh,
interesting.
But god damn, the music is good in this game.
it really is.
So there was supposed to be an old man who used a staff as the eighth party member. They turned this person into Gasper from the End of Time.
Ah.
So if you look at the original sketch, and I have it somewhere on my computer, yeah, there is an eighth person who is just an old man, and he was supposed to be a party member.
Cool.
Next one I like. Chrono's death was supposed to be permanent. In the original idea, you'd go back into time before the Millennial Fair to complete the quest and return him later to that time. It was deemed depressing or too depressing because it meant sending him back to his time knowing he was going to die. So then they wrote the clone scenario as an alternative. So I think Square kind of put the kibosh on that one.
Spoilers, by the way.
It was the right decision, though. I mean,
absolutely.
Come on, you don't want to be playing a game and then have your main character die halfway through it.
Yeah, that would be terrible. Earth. Excuse me.
What?
Aerith.
She was a main character, but it's not like Cloud, like, you know, like your main silent protagonist, and they kill that character. That's crazy to me. That's the part that.
I mean, it would have been a bold move. I'll give you that, but I
guess,
I don't think it would have been the same game. Like,
no,
I've got a lot of love for
would not have enjoyed it.
that little spiky head bastard.
Well, here's another little sad tidbit for you. Luca's mom, who had her legs crushed in a machine, was never supposed to be saved, but Square wouldn't have it that way and wanted the player a chance to save her, which I think was a right idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is.
That changes something significantly in the game, which, you know, I found to be good for Luca. You definitely need something that is, you know, if you're going to have something terrible, you need something, you know, positive to offset it.
And it really pays off Luca's family story.
Yeah, it really does. So number 12, and I told you this one, Alan, but Sam, you're going to get to react. The game was originally pitched as Final Fantasy VII.
What?
And so was Xenogears. So
Wow, interesting.
Final Fantasy VII could have been way different than the game we got. It could have been what is now Xenogears or what is now Chrono Trigger,
Well,
which would
and
have
it's
made Final
interesting.
Fantasy VII the greatest game in history.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting because like Chrono Trigger, and I don't know much about Xenogears, but like they both incorporate that kind of, you know, medieval style, but with that futuristic edge. And it's like, man, did they really lean into it with Final Fantasy VII? What became Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah. Well, speaking of Xenogears, point number 13 is Luca makes a cameo in that game. She explains the save
Interesting.
points to the players in the beginning village of Lahan.
Oh, that's
Not-
awesome.
Not super interesting, but just something you should know.
Well, we
This
should play
one's going to
Xenogears.
Xenogears. I love. Fuck.
I'd like to give
Yeah.
that game a go.
Yeah,
Jesus
let's do
Christ,
it.
you guys haven't? It's like you'll love it when you play it. It's just so good. But moving on to number 14, the three gurus of Chrono Trigger are named after the three wise men who visited Jesus after his birth.
Huh.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's like Balthazar and whatever. There's like a couple other
Yeah, Balthasar,
names.
Melchior, and Gaspar.
Gasper. Okay, yeah. I
I
just knew the Balthazar one. And
I-
Melikor.
I don't know
There
why,
is-
but I didn't know they had names.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know him. I know that one.
They use their names through the whole time. You have to go visit Melchior to fix Masamune.
No,
not
he
in
didn't
the-
know the wise men
You're
had
talking
names,
about
yeah.
the Bible people.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wise Men 1, 2, and 3 were taken on the birth certificate, so they had to give them real names.
I was
I
I was a
Yeah.
shepherd in a school play once.
I can't touch a Bible, it'll burn me.
True enough.
So another interesting fan theory about this game that I saw a long time ago is that Chrono Trigger is actually based on the Bible. It is allegory for death and resurrection of Jesus.
Huh.
All right. Sure. I mean,
There's a
way
video.
cooler than the Bible.
Yeah, there's a video. I'll post it in the Discord after the episode comes out. But once I find it again, but yeah, there's just this weird fan theory. But I honestly think they kind of stretch it a little bit there. You know, take some liberties.
I mean, are there
When I watched
robots in the Bible? Because I might read it if there are.
You don't know about Robot Jesus?
I genuinely do not. I'm missing out.
Well,
He tears up the dance floor.
I mean, you can pretty much there's influences in like storytelling like that throughout all time. I mean, you could
Oh,
take
God,
pretty
yeah.
much you could take so many things and say like, you know, this is kind of like the Bible or this is biblical in this sense or that sense because that those stories have impacted our culture very heavily. So I get it. Yeah, I could see maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to move on. Next fun fact is several fan remakes were attempted but ultimately stopped by Square Enix, including a 3D fan remake, which kept everything intact in the whole game-wise, just made everything a 3D model. I don't know if I like that because I think
Pass.
part of the charm of the game is its pixelated style.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want a 3D version of this game.
No. But
If,
my
if
last...
someone wants to make it, like, I mean, have at.
Not really.
But then Square's
It's copyrighted material, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Plus, you know, Square doesn't want somebody to steal their thunder if they ever want to release this game, you know, in an updated version. But the
Right.
final fact, a third game called Chrono Break was pitched to Square but never came to fruition. The trademark was dropped in 2003, but this game would have been a direct sequel to Chrono Trigger itself, unlike Chrono Cross, which is kind of a parallel game to Chrono Trigger.
Interesting.
Yeah, those are my 16 Chrono Trigger facts I dug up while I was thinking about this game way too much. Let's get into it. Let's score this game. I know I'm giving it a 10, so I'm just going to skip over me. Sam, I'm going to let you have the honors because you are the one who played it the most recently. So I think you probably have the best take on what you think of the game as somebody who's played it for the first time as an adult.
I mean, it's about as perfect as an RPG can get. It was remarkable just how well balanced it was all the way through. I mean, we mentioned the fact that there's very little grinding that you have to do. You're progressing through the game, engaging in battles, and then fighting bosses along the way that you're adequately leveled for and have the tools to defeat because they've been presented to you naturally throughout the course of your progression. And I think that's really special, especially in a game that's this complex story wise and all the different ways and like places you can go on the map in the different time periods. That's very difficult, I think, to pull off. And so I think that has to be said. Yeah, I played it on the DS. I really enjoyed playing it that way. I think that's, I mean, I have not played it on a Super Nintendo. Unfortunately, I'd love to someday if I could get my hands on a copy.
Quite honestly, the DS is the definitive way to play it nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, and I really enjoyed like tapping through the ATB, like the active battle system, with the touch controls on the bottom screen was so much fucking fun. I mean, I give it a 10. Like this is a game that I think everyone should play, and if you do have the ability to play it on the DS, I think that is a really, really great way to play it. It's worth the price of admission. I mean, I bought a copy on the DS, and I bought a DS specifically so that I could play it this way, and I don't regret it. It was money well spent. So, yes, I give it a 10.
Alan,
Beautiful.
were you going to make this the perfect game?
I am going to agree with literally everything Sam has just said. I mean, it's no coincidence that I've said about 6 or 7 times now that this is probably my favourite part of the game because there are just so many favourite parts of this fucking game. I mean, as Brian said up on the top there, this is a game that was meticulously crafted by some of the very best that gaming had to offer, with all the love and care for the genre that could possibly go into it. And it shows. I mean, you can see the love in the graphics, the music, the gameplay. Everything is just fine tuned to perfection. The story is compelling, emotional, beautiful. It's a once in a lifetime sort of a game. And inarguably my favorite RPG of all time. And I hope it will be topped one day, but I can't see it. It is a perfect game. So I'm definitely giving it a 10. I might go a little bit further and say because of the replay value of all the different endings and New Game Plus, you get to play the game again. So maybe I'll give it a 10.5. Just for that,
Ooh, wow.
just for the ability to replay the game, because you literally could play this game forever, looking for all the different endings. And even if you've done all of the different endings, you're just going to want to play this game again anyway, because it's just that fucking charming.
Absolutely. Well said, Alan. Well said, Sam. This game is a triple 10, actually beating the 100% by 0.5. Thank you, Alan. I think this is the benchmark game we've played so far in the show. If you are a fan of JRPGs and you've never played Chrono Trigger, you can get it on your Android, iOS, Apple TV, or you can get it on Steam. There's ways to play this game again that won't cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Everything after the DS version is parallel to the DS version minus the second screen. So you do get all the cutscenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, those cutscenes we didn't even really talk about too much.
No, they were added during the worst
Yeah.
version, which is the PlayStation version, because the load times on that one was just atrocious.
Yeah.
But they're stunning. They are stunning.
Yeah.
But they really add to it. They're so cool.
They
Even
could
if
make
it's
a
just
whole
like a little
anime
clip,
movie out
you
of
know?
this.
Yeah, I
True.
wish they would.
But all right, so that's it. That is episode 50. That is, right 2 episodes before our 1 year mark.
Yep.
Which I guess we can technically call this the 1 year mark, since we do have an episode 0, and this by rights would be episode 51.
Yeah,
we got coming up next week Rocket Night, and we invited Wildcard or Joe onto the show to talk about that because he's actually very passionate about it. And of course, that was actually supposed to be last week's episode, but due to the us being very busy, we weren't able to get the whole thing completed to our standards, so we've pushed it back to next week. After that, we have our spooky game poll winner, which is BioShock, which is why Sam is trying to force his way through that. Then we have classic beat 'em up Double Dragon, followed by a game I'm actually enjoying a ton, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.
I can't wait to get started on that. That looks
I'm
so
excited
much
for
fun.
those, yeah.
God, the Luigi's Mansions are so good.
I've only played the
very
first
good.
one, but the second one looks hot.
Oh, yeah. All right, if you want to have your opinion read on the show, or if you want to help us out by supporting the show, you can do so over at patreon.com/retrotopia. This is Brian saying goodbye. Sam, Alan, say goodbye as well to the audience.
Goodbye as well.
Goodbye as well. Guys, thank you very much for
Yes.
listening to us for 50 plus episodes, actually, for some of you.
Yeah.
It's been a blast. We really appreciate your support. We would not be here without you. So thanks very much. And Sam, final thoughts and take us home.
Give us your catchphrase.
I don't know. Yeah, thank you everyone for 50 mainline episodes and all the other stuff that you've listened to that we've put out. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. And we're going to keep going until episode 100 and beyond. So thank you all. Bye.